Rajani, Dhanlakshmi, and all my colleagues there. Okay, friends, before we go with the narrative, so what are the changes by under 5 years, or what should be the future of agriculture, and where does India stand, and what are the contemplated changes, and are we ready for those changes? So this is the whole issue we're talking. Is it that we grow paddy after paddy, or we go for high value crops, we go for secondary agriculture? We recently wrote a paper for one of the national seminars that how secondary agriculture is going to take place. So I think by definition, a secondary agriculture is that. No, it is basically talking about value addition, processed products. For example, you have got fly ash. So how are you going to use fly ash? People make bricks. Similarly, we have got a lot of agriculture waste. Can you convert them into some sort of a manure and do it? So we talk about the Swachh Bharat Abhiyan and all this rhetoric which is coming. So, but why is not getting recycled into the agriculture farm, and why people are not able to take advantage of this? So this is the question number one. And now the question number two would be largely saying that we have some export potential in mango and banana, but maybe because of fruit fly, the Docus dorsalis or something else, we are unable to export. A small country like El Salvador, okay, all these things, they are very high on export. Why is that India loses out on all these things in spite of being number one producer? You already know that we are number one producers in mangoes, we are number one producer in banana, okay, but if you see our export, it's aghast. So second thing is, how are we rejuvenating our soil? Of course, even in the past of many of my lecture series, I did tell that how to have a regenerative agriculture, how to have a climate smart agriculture. So when all this rhetoric is not just rhetoric, these are actually the realities and the demand which is put on the present day agriculture. And how is that we are going to go with the shift? Are you going to do with the plant change, or are you going to address the issue of global warming, or are you going to address the issue of climate change and more climate smart agriculture? So all these issues, we'll try to cover it in the next half an hour. Thanks to agriinformation.com for giving me this opportunity. And then we quickly go ahead. These are all the personal details. Now, have a look at this. See, why is that we are emphasizing more on the natural farming? It's only to have an ecological intensification, integrating the livestock, okay, and then keeping our soils alive. And of course, many Abhiyan and many campaigns were held. Even Sadhguru was also doing all this. It's not only him. So, but the issue is, today we are in a staggered, record production of 335 million tons in horticulture and around 320 million tons of agri, and this is the estimate of the last year. So if you have to sustain this production, don't think all this production has come only by the inorganic fertilizers or just by the varietal thing, but it's a concomitant, integrated, augmented efforts of all the extension workers, the scientists put together, and our farmers put together. So instead of making the agriculture more input sensitive, we are trying to make it more climate sensitive. We are going to, have a better bioresource flow, and all the local institutions which are participating with the NGOs and so on and so forth. And also we are trying to cater to the market, robust supply chains and demand. So what we wish to say is, agriculture is no longer paddy after paddy and wheat after wheat, where, some state farmers will sit on a dharna and then they oppose all these things. See, why should the agriculture be so supportive, subsidized both on the input front and the output front? You take the input subsidies as well as the output subsidies, do monocropping, okay, degenerate your soils, and absolutely no value chain, no value addition, and no export orientation, and you lose very heavily on that. So this sort of a protective agriculture is going to change, and that's going to be the future agriculture. And obviously, when I talk about natural farming, especially with the small and marginal farmers, the linkages are important, the land management and the natural resource management and the bioflora and fauna in the soil is absolutely important to have some sort of a regenerative agriculture and not an exploitative agriculture. So I've been one of the national trainers in natural farming, a certified trainer from Manage, and these are some of my reflections and opinions. See, now, what are the changes which are contemplated HEIA means high external input agriculture. LEIA means low external input agriculture. So now, where do you want to shift? You want to go for a high external input agriculture, which happens in the protected cultivation and the greenhouses and glasshouses. Of course, in IHR, we have a center of protected cultivation where we grow high value crops, especially broccoli, okay, the English cucumbers, and then the lettuce and so on, which are not native to this particular thing. And all these high value crops, we use HEIA approach, whereas the small and marginal farmers, we go for the natural farming. And the shifting in farming system is based on the market demand. See, when there is no market demand, why do you want to go with high costs of inorganic fertilizers, urea, and degenerate your soil? So diversification is another key, shifting the farming system for a better, climate-sensitive agriculture and an agroecological principle is the key. This is going to be the future. Obviously, you improve the tree cover, the biomass, the soil organic carbon should be high. And then obviously productivity and more crop per drop is what is being expected in the future agriculture. You cannot waste the resources just because you have water, and water does not belong to you, and anything below 8 feet of the soil does not belong to you. It belongs to the government. As told in the Isha Vasopanishad, Isha Vasamidam Sarvam Yatkinta Jagatam Jagat. That means the resources belong to the whole world. It does not belong to you just because you own a site or a 5-acre land. The resource is not yours. So obviously, when we are going with the landscape approach and we are going to preserve our forests, the common lands, especially the Gomal lands and all these wastelands. So we want to put a lot of ecosystem services there. And you should have the rainwater harvesting ponds with especially the recharging of the bore wells and ground, because that is called as regenerative agriculture. Then shifting cultivators from farm to non-farm operations, especially in high external input agriculture, we do not want the low risk taker to be there, whereas in case of the low external input agriculture, which is also called sustainable agriculture and sustenance agriculture, we wish to shift these cultivators from one to the other. Then obviously it is all real prices received by the farmers and market-oriented agriculture which is going to come, and that's what we are going to do. And all our policies and investments on a true time cost accounting approach is also going to be there. These are some of the changes which are contemplated, and obviously you can see some of the government schemes which are in line with these principles. You have an agri-infrastructure fund, especially the Gramin Bandaran Yojana, the 3% rate of interest, they give you up to 5 crores. I've been one of the consultants in Northeast. And then, you can put a lot of your warehouses and then improve your storage facilities, especially if you can make the storage happen for 1 year and above. Then the National Beekeeping Honey Mission is not only preparing and producing honey of medicinal value. Patanjali has come out, even Amul has come out with a lot of variations. So today honey is no longer just honey, but it has a therapeutic and the medicinal value. And also the national beekeeping helps you in the pollination, especially the cross-pollinated crops and so on. Then obviously you see how the farming changed from an individual farmer to a farmer-producer organization. Me and my colleagues, we extensively work on this, how to bring a group approach in farmer-producer organization. And then what are the CBBO, the cluster-based business organization. In fact, I was one of the winter school directors. We conducted one of the courses here. Then obviously the other issue has been forecasting the agriculture output using space and meteorology and land-based observation. We call it as FASL. And then the national e-governance plan, which is coming very heavily with the M-Kisan, the farmers portal and development of mobile apps, especially Kisan Savida and others. In fact, we at IIHR have already developed a mobile app called as Arka Vyapar for the direct marketing and the linking the producers, the farmers and the buyers. So now we have got the MIDA, the Mission on Integrated Development and Horticulture. We have the National Horticulture Mission, Coconut Board. So everywhere we are seeing where is our comparative advantage. We are not doing agriculture as just some time pass and a hobby. It's a business. It has improved the productivity and the GDP of the country. We are now a double-digit guys. And we also have a National Food Security Mission. And out of the 320 and odd million metric tons, okay, we have at least around 80 million metric tons, which are stored in the Food Corporation of India godowns and so on. We are also looking at oil seeds and oil palm, which are actually tree-borne oil seeds. That is the future. Earlier, they were very stray cases on the, on the edges of the villages and so on. But now, even the Union Territories, Kashmir and Ladakh, we focus on this upland rice and bringing green revolution to Eastern India with the rice-based system. Hey, Methik Matado. Okay, and then we have got the Krishi Sinchan Yojana, especially with the micro and drip irrigation. We have the rain-fed. So these are all going to change the landscape of the future agriculture. And especially when I talk about integrated nutrient man, the organic farming, don't think this organic farming is just a slogan. And definitely you get premium prices for this. And that is being covered under this Paramparagat Krishi Vikas Yojana, especially Dasparni, and then we have all those formulations covering it. Then obviously we have this organic value chain development Northeast region. So all these issues, okay, then we also have an old age pensions giving security for the 60 plus years of the farmers, obviously the crop insurance farming and all those things. So then Gobardhanti, especially organic bio-agro resources, okay, it is by the Ministry of Jal Shakti. Okay, in the Swachh Bharat, you are also going to convert the biodegradable waste into compressed bags. Recently, I was in Mysore, I saw some silicone bags, which is actually produced by maize flour. You'll get the shock of the thing. I had it somewhere here. Yeah, here is the bag. Can you see the bag here on my thing? I'm just showing you. This is prepared using the maize flour. So you thought maize flour is only for you to eat, but they have prepared excellent biodegradable bags, which degrade in about 60 days. So obviously the RKVY with 7% agricultural growth, and all these things are going to change. So before I go with my next slide for the presentation, 2-3 things are very obvious. You cannot grow rice after rice or wheat after wheat and stick to very safe agriculture. You have to come out and you will have to do some commercial agriculture, grow high value crops, grow market oriented crops, grow the crops which are in demand. See, especially there's a lot of demand, especially for the Western, that English vegetables, the English cucumber, the bell pepper and broccoli. They are very high value crops. And obviously when these are high valued crops, they require a temperate climate, which is actually been envisaged in this protected cultivation. We control our relative humidity, temperature and so on. And actually there is another issue in horticulture, my friends would have told you, I told you the last class, that is called as tropicalization of temperate fruits. See, that means whatever is grown in the cold season, Leh, Ladakh, it may be kesar, it may be broccoli or whatever, they are trying to grow it even here. And then this, because the market is demanding that. Market does not demand only rice and wheat. How much of rice and wheat are you going to grow? So this is going to be a paradigm shift in the agriculture which are coming. And then look at the nutritive sensitive agriculture is another dimension where presently there's a training program conducted by Dr. Tiwari and Ramya. The session is on. I have a session tomorrow. You see, in the entire world, okay, India has maximum number of children below 5 years who have the stunted growth, which is kwashiorkor, malnutrition. And in Asia, it is 84. It is number 1. So India contributes almost more than 50% for the malnourishment. See, we may be the highest population country after, okay, China was number 1, but now we became highest populated country. At the same time, absolutely less medical facilities, and then our nutritive sensitive agriculture is not yet so focused, and we have a lot of malnourished people. So this is another issue where agriculture will have to address it. See, you are not growing wheat and paddy for your fancy. Come on. See, I think you have to be more responsible for the civic society and also think of the population and what our India demands, not to make your agriculture very safe. See, for some farmer, growing rice after rice is a highly subsidized input as well as the output thing. It is safe for him. We are not here to safeguard only the farmers. We are here to safeguard the stakeholders and all the actors in the supply chain and the value chain and the consumers basically and the country as a whole. See, when we are investing so much money in agriculture, why should we pamper only a few farmers from a few states. That is the issue. Then obviously the climate smart agriculture, you can see some of the percentage change, everything is negative. See, tomorrow when the global warming change takes place, it is predicted at 2050 that, there will be a negative growth percentage. That means the reduction in the yields are expected. Therefore, NICRA project, the National Initiative on Climate Resilient Agriculture in the ICR, we are trying to come out with climate smart technologies, and we are trying to shift from C3 to the C4 plants, and then making it more resilient for the climate. So that's how we have to do. See, India is minus 25. That means you will lose 25% of your yield. See, right now we have 220 million metric tons in agri and 235 million metric tons in horticulture. So if I reduce 25% out of that, so you will have to make up with either the technology or coming out with the climate smart agriculture. So obviously, the climate smart agriculture, so we want to reduce the global warming and then have more better photosynthetic efficiency plant, especially C3 and C4, because the carbon pathways are somewhat different. So I think India should gear up to these sort of changes. And it's not only increasing productivity, adaptation and resilience is going to be the order of the day in the future agri to come. And obviously the carbon dating and the carbon credits, your emission reduction. See, many times, even when you apply more organic manure in the soil, it causes emissions. Obviously, when more carbon dioxide and other carbon monoxide emissions are there, the ozone layer in the stratosphere is going to decrease, and then you'll have a lot of ultraviolet radiation, which is directly going to come into the earth, and then that creates the global warming. And obviously, a 2% increase in the global warming is been taking place, and you'll have to have climate smart varieties and all these things, and the livelihood also should be protected. So, just a minute, I have a phone call. Hello? Eddie. Okay. ಇಲ್ಲೆಲ್ಲ ನೀವೇ ತಗೊಳ್ಳಿ, ನಾನು ಎಸ್ ಅಂತೀನಷ್ಟೇ. You are the competent boy. You're a T7 here. Okay. So, therefore, friends, the bioresource flow is actually, recycling the dung and then making it climate smart, especially using the drones and the other sensors. Okay, you have to take a forewarning decision in agriculture. You can no longer see. Today I was in one of the scientific advisory committee meeting in a Krishi Vigyan Kendra. So they were, my boys were telling me there that the Rabi rains, which are supposed to come in November, has started coming in the month of October. So every time the rains have got advanced. See, actually in and around South India, we have a bimodal rainfall, but the dates of rains have been changing. So this is directly because of the global warming and climate resilience, how to build such situation. So you'll have to have a early sown crop and early maturing crop. So that is how you'll have to change your agriculture part of it. And then obviously, when I talk about regenerative agriculture, the shift in the paradigm is protecting our soil diversity and partnering with nature, especially the microflora and fauna, whether it's a biological nitrogen fixation, or it's the earthworms, or it is a mycorrhiza. The plant root rhizosphere interaction is very important to study this and then put the agriculture technologies to that. So now there are 5 principles of regenerative agriculture, which is actually the future agriculture. We want to minimize the soil disruption, which is actually called zero tillage. And we always keep the soil covered, especially with mulch and plants. We also say the green manure, the sun hemp, the sesbania, grandiflora and all that. Then plant diverse crops, okay. Then we also have no synthetic chemicals. We are against this. And then planned grazing. See, especially on the grazing front, okay, you have a controlled grazing, you have a free grazing. Okay, FRG means free range grazing. My friend used to tell me that we have an institute in Jhansi, okay, Indian Grass and Fodder Research Institute. They have come out with the plant grazing methodologies. Okay, you allow the cattle to graze in a particular area and then afterwards it has to shift. This is how we use all the regenerative agriculture. So maintaining the living roots and integrating the livestock. So all these issues are going to take place. So now, having talked so much about regenerative agriculture, which is going to be the future agriculture. So how are the technology parks going to come? What are the custom hiring centers? See, everybody cannot own a harvester. Come on, don't tell me that. And everybody requires a agri-business hub. See, today, the BPD, the Business Planning and Development, and of course, we have one at IIHR, which is called the best start. Actually, 300 plus technologies at IIHR are actually commercialized by them. We give a license, write the DPR, detailed project report, and then we link them with the banks for finance, and then we upscale and all that. And at a very pilot scale, the ideation, incubation, acceleration, and diversification. So all those issues also is going to come up. So everything is going to be planned. You cannot say that my grandfather was growing paddy, therefore I grow paddy and I don't want to know the future of it. See, there is nothing like just culture in agriculture. So somebody told agriculture is agriculture. That means you have to agree with the technologies and the paradigm shifts which are coming. And then that is how the agriculture is going to take off. So obviously using non-fossil fuel is a win-win option. Today we have come out with the solar pumps, we have got the solar dryers, we have got all these methods even in agri, and no longer we depend on the diesel pump sets and so on. See, now 70% of the water for agriculture is actually coming from the soil and water-based technologies. So just because you have the green waste and the wet waste, which is created by the BBMP people, they come every day for sorting the waste. And actually you can provide both fertilizer and recycled water, and not actually soil and degenerate all over lakes. See, there is a lake near my house. It's called Keregudalli Lake. Okay, it is very near Chikbanur. It very stinks. So that means these fellows have been putting the latrines directly connected to the lake and have almost killed the lake. So all such rejuvenation can take place. And even from the education front in agriculture, I've been one of the adjunct professors for many of the universities, and also written the Rao manual. Okay, today it's all experiential learning, including international experiential learning of agriculture. The rural agriculture work experience is based actually on the industrial needs and demands of the farmers. We have hands-on training and skill development, student projects. Okay, so we all promote all these sort of things in education and keep our students ready. That's called student ready program. So you have to keep your students ready and not, preach all those age-old, outdated, obsolete concepts. So now the science, technology, and innovation has also come into agriculture. Every time we have 648,000 villages in this country, we are going to assess the current situation, define the objectives and scope. And today, especially when the SREP has come, Strategic Research Extension Plan, we have a SREP document for every district. Way back in 2004, we were all consultants for manage. We developed the SREP document. You have one for each district today. And then we assess the paths, and then actually there's an action plan. We have both strategy and action. See, every strategy will also have an action plan. So that's how we work out, and we execute and monitor all these things. See, even in Krishi Vigyan Kendra, you have, even at the district level, you have the ATMA, the Agriculture Technology Management Agency, and then you have Krishi Vigyan Kendra, which is the frontline extension hubs and training centers, which will actually plan and execute all the training programs required by the district farmers. So now let us quickly go, friends. In fact, the farmer income is increasing in Odisha. So ultimately, why I showed this particular slide is there's no point in having a future agriculture which is only production oriented. It should also be income oriented. What do you say? So therefore, in Telugu, there is a samita, there's a saying, Kshanam tirika ledu, damudi adayam ledu. That means, my student, one girl is here, she's a Telugu girl. So she may be laughing. That means farmers are ever busy, but they don't get income. So especially the Odisha farmer gets a high income as compared to the other states. Okay, the blue is there is a compound annual growth rate, but the incomes are rising faster because of secondary agriculture, which we just wrote in the papers and so on. So now the private investment is not coming in small and marginal farmer. Have a look at this. See, most probably the private investment is going to the 47.31% who are all large farmers. See, people don't want to invest on small and marginal farmers because it is a people-oriented agriculture and it's highly risk-oriented and they demand many things. So huge chunks of land, 100 acres, 200 acres. So people are, the government money is going to the small and marginal farmers, whilst the private investment is going only to the big farmer. So obviously, I think, Rajini ma'am, I have under 5 minutes to go. There are so many other issues I want to talk. So I'm just going to quickly conclude with some of my points. So there is a lot of demand for high value commodities, especially fruits, vegetables, egg, milk, and so on. And that will grow much faster and not your paddy and wheat. Second thing is land, water, and other resources to produce sufficient quantities to meet this future requirement are limited. Therefore, we have to come out with more crop per drop. So that means obviously we talk more about water efficient methods, okay, drone control, sensor control, automation. See, once when an automation comes in a farm or a field, you need not employ labor. See, suppose, power is going to come in the farm in the midnight. Are you going to get up, go and switch on your pump sets? See, today it's all IoT controlled, Alexa controlled automation. The moment a message comes on your mobile, the pump sets in the village and the farmer switch down automatically. I have such automation at home, which works purely on the sound and the light sensor. Okay, we have all that. So that will reduce the drudgery of the farmer. Obviously, marketable surplus in non-perishable crops is now about 80 to 90%. Okay, so we can say that Indian agriculture has become a more commercialized, mechanized, diversified, and globalized agriculture. No longer only kitchen garden. See, today we talk of rooftop gardening, we talk about urban roof water harvesting, and then we also talk about rainwater harvesting in the flats, and obviously rainwater harvesting, farm part, the water use association in the villages, and so on. So people will almost be sharing all these natural resources, and that's how the community participation, the PRA, the participatory rural appraisal are going to come. So the yield levels have almost become trebled, but the only incomes have not doubled. So just now I told you the yields are high, but the incomes are not high. So the future agriculture is going to be high income, high yield, sustainable agriculture. Okay, the animal and human power are almost become obsolete, and there is more mechanization for every term. Some of my students yesterday were there in mechatronics. They've been trying to develop a robot for sensing the plant diseases and then the maturity indices in horticulture, crops, and all that. So obviously, the share of food grain is reducing because today people eat more of proteins, egg, milk, and other things, and high value crops. Nobody eats only rice after rice. Okay, only poor people eat rice after rice. So obviously increasing the efficiency of water and other resources, agriculture is going to shift like this. And the other issue is crop zoning. See, that means we already have ODOP, one district, one product. So wherever you have a commercial advantage, okay, you should comparative advantage, you are going to grow those crops and not go on experimenting. And because, there is a saying in Telugu, Ma tatulu netulu tagaru, ma mutulu vasana chudandi. That means my grandfather was putting rice, so I also put rice, I also put wheat. So those days are gone, those paradigms and the rhetoric has already changed. So we already talk about direct marketing, and we also want to make agriculture climate resilient. So I think I'll stop at this and then open the entire talk for discussion. I have other slides I'll be sharing with Rajni, and then she will hand it out to you. So good luck. I stop sharing. We take questions now.
Thank you, sir, for a very detailed presentation. Now I'll quickly take up some questions. Okay. So the first question is, how do you envision the role of technology in shaping the future of agriculture?
Yeah, see, especially when you talk about technology, the drone has been invented even before agriculture. Okay, that means they did not invent drone because agriculture was in place. They invented it. So similarly, the mobile phone has not been invented only for agriculture. It has been invented. So when the technologies are there, it is left to us how to leverage this drone and mobiles. For example, in case of mobiles, When we come with the mobile apps, we say ICT in agriculture, developing Kisan Suvidha, Arka Vyapar apps. Similarly, when I come to the drone, IHR is having a project. They are trying to use a low volume, high concentration spray because the drone cannot take more than 500 ml. So with 250 ml of the pesticide, it can have a target precision spray. So that is how technologies are also leveraging. And especially if you come to IHR, I can show you our Center of Protected Cultivation, where we control almost all the variables through IoT, the relative humidity, the temperature, the fan, the cooling. So actually, virtually speaking, you can grow a cold season crop or a Rabi crop in Kharif or in the rainy season. Similarly, a rainy season crop in Rabi and summer and so on. So the seasonality has been broken with technology, and only when the market demands, okay, we are able to schedule our irrigation, schedule our production system using the technology. So this is only to make the profits more. And simply, there is no point in doing agriculture because it was my culture and my grandfather did it. So this is the role of technology, ma'am.
Okay. What are some key advancements in agricultural technology that you believe will have the greatest impact?
Yeah, the greatest impact is especially, I told you, coming through the C3 and the C4 plant. It actually a pathway mechanism. See, for example, C4 plant means, for example, paddy, sugarcane. See, these are all monocotyledons. I think you saw the leaf structure as compared to the dicotyledonous leaves. So these plants, especially paddy, sugarcane, they are more efficient in photosynthesis, and especially it can harness more sunlight and carbon dioxide and produce glucose. So that C4 technology is the one particular in agriculture technology. Second one is the protected cultivation part. Third is using the drones and other things. And then the fourth is, okay, conglomerating and aggregating the farmer producer organizations and the cluster-based business organizations to leverage for the market demand and produce only what the market demands and produce where I have profits. And definitely not put my precious time and resources where I don't have profit. We do not want the farmer to do this.
Okay. Next question is, how can precision agriculture techniques contribute to sustainable farming practices?
Well, see, precision agriculture at a farmer's level, see, now precision agriculture requires a lot of knowledge. It requires a lot of high intensification and the linking with the market. Unless you do these three things, okay, a farmer will not be able to do precision agriculture because, see, especially when I talk about nano urea spraying on the aerial spray, and then the entire urea is picked up through the hydrothodes and the vacuoles which are available in the plant cell. So now, even for example, if I want to use a drone spray in precision farming, especially in cotton and other things, the first two leaves in the bottom side has to be sprayed and not the meristematic leaves which are coming on the top. So now, I don't know whether the drone can really fly down and then have that sort of precision agriculture. In precision agriculture, we also talk about injecting some of the fertilizers and then specific spray. That's why, many of my students, when they're working on this robotics to identify the pest and then give the schedule based on the pest intensity, we call it as LD50 values and all that. So now the diagnosis is going to be more specific in precision farming. Okay, the identification part and the assessment part. For all these things, we are going to use robotics, the mechatronics and other integrated branches, and then trying to increase the profit per rupee of the investment. That's how we are trying to do.
Okay. How can vertical farming and urban agriculture address the challenges of limited land availability?
See, vertical farming is more an urban concept and a fancy concept. Of course, we have one Dr. Sumangala who works on vertical farming here. So it is a multi-tier farming. Even in our Center of Protected Cultivation, we have actually put different rows and then we put it at such an angle of that particular frames to harness more of sunlight. It is developed, but that will not work for the, Dr. Kalaivanan is here there who works on the cocoa bean. Please come here. Yeah, see, I'm doing, they're asking how, see, here Dr. Kalaivanan, come. He's Dr. Kalaivanan, you just show your face. He's Dr. Kalaivanan who works on the cocoa peat soilless cultivation. All these techniques this boy has produced and one of my very promising students. This is agriinformation.com. So they were talking about especially vertical farming and all that. I said to do all that, the crops should have very high value. If it is a low value crop, then Kalaivanan will not come. So I think I've driven home the point. Unless there is a very high value of the crop, especially broccoli and then, English cucumber, capsicum, you should not put these high value technologies, not for a very ordinary technologies. I showed you Dr. Kalaivanan, my student, who works on the soilless cultivation.
Okay. Next question is, what are the potential benefits and challenges associated with adopting genetically modified crops?
See, now, anyway, it's only my feeling that kindly to see genetically modified crops. See, somebody wanted to put, they want to increase the potato and make it more proteinaceous, instead of only starch. See, when the ordinary varieties itself can give you the results, why should somebody go for GMO? Because the technology is available. So is my concern, and definitely there's nothing wrong unless a genetically modified crop enters your gut system and your body physiology, and it. So a lot of environmental care, is very necessary before you try to introduce genetically modified crop. Otherwise, there are even ordinary varieties and selected varieties which are much safer. I don't think there is a real need for a GMO crop. Of course, in PT cotton, we wanted it because the Bacillus thuringiensis is the one which attacks our bollworm. Otherwise, we should not go. Fine.
Okay. Next question. How can we enhance food security and reduce post-harvest losses through innovative farming practices?
See, now the food security has already been addressed because we have 80 million metric tons in the NFSM, the National Food Security Mission, which are already in our food corporation godowns. And the other one, what did you ask? You asked about 1 minute. I forgot the food security is addressed. One more thing you asked.
Reduce post-harvest losses through innovative farming.
To reduce post-harvest losses, we have umpteen number of technologies, both handling, storage, and processing, and especially converting them to high-value crops. And since it is not that people do not know the technology, but the post-harvest technology can be addressed because it requires high investment and high risk-taking things and also high technologies. So therefore, we are unable to do it. But once when the ecosystem is in place, I think definitely there is a lot of scope for this, and that is going to happen as well. And many of these small-time agriculture and horticulture people are going to do only the post-harvest technologies and manage them. We have probiotics, we have processed products, we have handling, storage, and even zero energy cooling chambers. All those issues are there. They're already there.
Okay. What are the most promising methods for reducing the environmental footprint of agriculture?
Environmental?
Footprint of agriculture.
Yeah, see, environmental footprint is first is you should reduce the emissions, the greenhouse gases, and then shifting to climate smart agriculture. We do not want technologies to be input intensive and input responsive. We want them to be climate responsive. That is exactly what is happening in the NICRA project, the National Initiative for the Climate Resilient Agriculture. That's already going on. So therefore, if we do not want the footprints to be here, see the Punjab model, I did not want to mention the state, simply growing rice after rice, and then indiscriminate application of fertilizers without natural farming, preserving the flora, fauna, all these things are going to leave a lot of bad footprints in agriculture. So if we adopt many of these things, which are the future of agriculture, you can have a climate resilient and a safe method and a good agriculture practice, which will go a very long way in developing the sustainability and preserve our agriculture heritage as well. Thank you.
Okay. And what role does data analytics and predictive modeling have in improving farming efficiency and yield?
Yeah, see, data modeling and crop modeling already has been tried. See, now this will actually forecast what sort of yields are expected, and especially when we integrate this market information service and the market intelligence part, it also tells you that where exactly you can sell, where is your market, And all those issues are going to take, especially that's called the transportation model, what we teach our MBA students. And agriculture can become more profitable, more remunerative, more sustainable. And it's a data-driven precision agriculture. So definitely all the data analytics will help. And it will help in a very, very large scale. That's why the big data is coming, data mining has come. And we are able to find out the patterns and trends in marketing, in production, and processing and post-harvest. All these things we are able to predict.
Okay, so now we have the last question. How can the agricultural industry adapt to the impacts of climate change and ensure long-term sustainability?
See, regarding climate change, of course, yesterday was the environmental day. There were, one was the 4 R's, I think you should know. It should be regenerative, refuse, recycle, and there was one more R. Okay. So unless you recycle the thing, to do a recycling and regenerative agriculture, you should have natural farming practices. You should have more organic carbon compound content in the soil. Okay, to refuse, avoiding the plastics and which pollutes. See, I told you, I just showed you this particular bag. I told you here. This is a bag which is a biodegradable bag prepared from maize flour. See, I can also give you the company address. So all these 4 R's, recycle, regenerate, refuse, and I forgot, can make your agriculture environment friendly. Single farming doesn't say that we are not going to use either fertilizer, but we are going to improve the microflora and fauna of the soil and keep the soil alive. We do not want to kill our soils. So all these issues are covered in this environment friendly agriculture. Recycle, regenerate, refuse, and there's one more R. Kalevan, what are the 4 R's? Regenerate, recycle, refuse, and one more. Reuse. Yeah, Dr. Kalevan. Yeah. See, reusing, especially when I talk Swachh Bharat and all that, I had forgotten the other reuse. See, can we reuse and recycle all our BBMP waste, both the wet waste and the dry waste and all that, convert into useful fertilizers? Okay, especially, when they talk about this fermentation, both aerobic and anaerobic fermentation, you can convert into high value fertilizer. Reusing, recycling, regenerating. Say how to regenerate your bore wells, recharge your bore wells, rainwater harvesting techniques. Okay, you have soak pits and at the drainage point. So all these issues can create more things. Otherwise, indiscriminate agriculture, not just putting fertilizer, but very carelessly and unjudiciously we are doing it. So that has to be avoided.
Okay. Okay, sir. I don't see any more questions from our participants. So now we have come to end of question round. On behalf of agricultureinformation.com, we'd like to thank you for a very detailed presentation and answering all the questions in depth. And we also like to thank all the participants for joining this meeting. The meeting will now be closed.
Yeah, thank you very much for giving me the opportunity. Agriinformation.com. Hope to see you again. I shut down the meeting. Thank you.
Sure, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you.